Criteria are general to include qualified applicants, but specific enough to include the unqualified applicants. Like I'm saying, it's trying to get those people that are just applying to get any job, like out of the considered candidates, and make sure that there's enough information that it's enough candidates that are relevant, and they want about, you know. So there's about 4 to 8 KSAs per screening matrix, or per job. The posting will post, or we'll show those KSAs. I can show you a picture later on, but basically how they are ranked is a check plus, a check minus, and a minus minus. So you want to be in the check plus because that shows that you are the person that is going to be considered a candidate for the interview. And everyone is rated. So here is an example of some KSAs. Like I said down here, communicate effectively orally and in writing. That's going to be something that they see based on your application and your resume, just from how you have drafted your sentences or your structure, and making sure that everything is consistent. And just another example, I think this might be my boss's, yeah. So these are his KSAs for his position: knowledge of state and federal wetland and stream law and regulations, analyzing, reviewing, mitigation design. So all those words are what they are looking for in the screening matrix. That's what you need to look for. So now you get screened in, your application is awesome, and you're considered a candidate, and you get called for an interview. What are you going to do now? Well, I can tell you that they are not going to wait for you to want a certain date. They're going to pick the dates they want, and they're going to call you, and it's first come, first served. So if they have 7 candidates, I think for the situation for me, there were 6 other candidates. And I was called, and he goes, hey, well, these are the dates, and these are the times, and if you guys can't make it, it's first come, first serve, and if you can't make it, well, my boss says that if you go with the job bad enough, you'll make it there in person. So, from a hiring manager's perspective, it's important to show that. There's going to be multiple people on the panel. I think it's usually who the hiring manager chooses, so it could be someone in your position currently, or someone who has more expertise. So when I went to the panel, there was 3 panel members: the hiring manager, my boss. We had one other person who was more experienced wetland scientist, and then a person who's currently in my position. And it was awesome because they really helped me answer a lot of questions that I had. Yeah, it's first come, first served for dates, so just make sure when they call you to call quickly back. They love in-person interviews. I feel like the only time they would take a Skype or a phone call is if you couldn't come into the state for some reason or you had a real emergency. They really appreciate you coming in person. So it makes a good impression. So doing your homework, this is what saved me for my interview, because if I hadn't have looked on the website, or you just got to know the basics of your job position and exactly what you're applying for, and a little bit about their programs and what they do and who they work with. And if you don't look at that stuff and they go into the interview and they ask you questions, you're going to be kind of blindsided. So make sure like the night before or just like a week prior to, you look on their websites, and you can even request the employee work profile from the HR department, and they will gladly give you that and show you what you're going to be doing or you're trying to get. So look at the agency websites and the organizational charts. Arrive 15 to 20 minutes prior to your interviews, because they will give you the questions beforehand, and you get a few minutes to review them, think of what you're going to say, and they'll take you up to the interview panel. You can bring your notebook, and I think it's easier just to focus on them, because they are going to be writing everything that you're saying. It's actually a little intimidating, because you have a whole list of questions, and everyone's staring at you like with pens, and as you're talking, they don't even look at you the whole time. They're just writing everything you're saying like this, and you're just like, So make sure you introduce yourself to each panel member, thank them personally at the end. The state interviews are very structured and formal, so you want to be dressed very nice and professional. They will be read to you. Usually they go around per panel member and ask you a question, and you have a few minutes to think about it, and then so many minutes to talk about it, however long you would like. You can also go back at the interview. They give you sometimes chances to go back to a previous question if you would like to add something more, or if you'd like to correct something. You can do that. There's not much chit-chat or getting to know anyone really until the very end when your interview is over. But I definitely recommend asking them a couple of questions about the position or the training, or even just, basic job questions. It shows them that you're interested and that you've really done your homework. So it says this is coming from Dave, but he uses a combination of open-end questions and very job-specific questions. So like I said, it's important to go back onto the websites or the job descriptions and know the answers, because they will be very specific questions that are meant to scare you. So in Dave's side, he likes to find very, very hard questions that are kind of going to make you panic, and you're just like, whoa. And I have personal experience from that, because when I first saw the questions, I was like, oh man, these look very hard. But you get it together, and you can do it and get through it. Just really have to take your time and pace yourself through the interview process, because it's expected to be about an hour long. The open-ended questions are important because they're trying to see how well you think on your feet, or kind of a little bit about your personality and your morals, and basically get a reasonable sense of your own strengths and limitations. And like I said, the specific questions are, you can ask for the EWP, the employee work profile, to find those out before. Some examples of open-ended questions are, everyone knows this one, what are your personal strengths and weaknesses? I think the one I had, this is a similar one. We selected you for the job. What goals would you set for the first 6 months? What do you see as your biggest challenge? So that's kind of a time when you get to really ask questions too. Just be like, what am I expecting in the next 6 months? What kind of training am I going to be going on? So these are just examples. Further examples of specific job-related questions. These are meant to look big, with lots of parts to them, so that you can go off any parts that you don't know one thing, but you know another. That's kind of the point of these questions. So, for example, please describe your knowledge and skills with the personal computer operations, databases, software, so stuff that you have to have experience with. So, some tips. They generally last about 45 minutes. You want to take about the last 15 minutes to answer or ask questions. Make sure you pace yourself, don't ramble on. I found when I was doing the interview process, it was nice to kind of look up, because since they're not really looking at you, it just helps you to not be a little stressed out. And also to not do like ticks, like if you have a pencil and you're clicking your pencil, like that will annoy people. So just to be very self-aware, that's really important in interviews. Don't propose on the first date. So save your salary questions for HR whenever they call you for the offer. It's kind of, I feel like that hiring managers don't like that when you talk about salary. Obviously it's important, but that's more something you want to talk to about with HR. So post-interview questions. So once all interviews are completed, they basically rank the candidates based on how well they obviously did the interview, and then on experience. So in my situation, there was actually someone that had a lot more. I think she had 5 years prior experience, and I had pretty minimal experience. And she ended up liking the job because my interview was way better than hers. So it's not always all about the experience. It's about your personality and showing your strengths and your willingness to learn to the hiring managers. So they rank them by the most suitable candidate. If there's more than one suitable candidate, you'll have a second interview, and that's a little less formal. It's more to just kind of feel out your personality and what you're like and how you're going to fit in the group. Yeah, so examples, is this candidate well organized? That's what they're kind of looking for in the second interview. Luckily, I didn't have to go to the second interview process because I got the job, but some people might. So these questions are really, really supposed to be to make you think. So there's lots of parts to them. It's also probably trying to get your mind wrapped around more than one thing at a time. So they're just really trying to challenge you and see how you're going to fit in the group. So this is a mitigation question. It's very large. It's not all about getting these right. It's more just seeing how you handle certain things. So if you made it to the second interview, you're obviously a top contender. You're much more. You can have more pitfalls. That's what it says, yeah. Because that is the time when you guys could be conversing in situations and conversations can come up that you might not want to. Also, for my boss, for the criminal background check, he likes to say that if you have something in your past, or like say you have like a DUI from like a year ago, or some criminal activity, it's important to be honest about it before, because they appreciate that you telling it up front before HR comes to them and is like, oh, this is what we found. So they appreciate you letting them know ahead of time what's going on in that. So, a little summary points. All state government jobs require the submittal of the application, and you can do that on the website, Virginia Jobs. A good application is one that's tailored and very specific to each job application. And make sure you use the action words in the posting. I would say the description of the job is one of the most important keys. Make sure that all your information, your cover letter, resume, everything is consistent and all matched up, and you have a good writing structure. Have someone proofread your materials. That really helps because they can catch the things that you don't see. I think I had Rob read my resume before I sent it over. He was like, we should fix this and this and this and everything. But, yeah, make sure you get the action words to screen it, because you need to screen it to get the interview. So just goals at a time. Standard interviews are very structured, informal. Make sure you arrive 15 minutes early. Honesty is the best policy, like I said. Be upfront about everything. And thank everyone for the email for the interview time. Here's some stuff from a hiring manager's perspective. He's going to look at all your social media. I know in a time right now that's crazy because everybody has social media and who knows what's out there, but just be aware if your pages are private or public, that's really important to them, because if they see things on there that they don't like, or for example, if you're going out every weekend and they see you posting that, it's going to be like, well, they seem kind of irresponsible, you know. So just think about how it's going to look to maybe your grandmother, and it'll help out. Unless your grandmother is a partier, then he performs a background check. I think, yeah, all state jobs do a background check, or criminal background check. If it's publicly available, consider how it might look. So if you want to turn it private, or just be careful and aware of what you're posting on there. It's pretty common for them to receive about 75 to 100 applications per job posting. So that is why everything is so tailored to just find very specific candidates and weed out the top 15, 20 people, so that they save time and don't have to go through this whole process again if they end up picking someone that doesn't fit, or if they don't pick anyone at all. And some positions are open until they're filled. Some are only open for 2 weeks. It really depends on the job position. But yeah, be prepared. Really know your KSAs. Personally, this process, I mean, seeing the presentation when he came, my boss did, it was eye-opening, because I really knew I wanted to work in the government, but I didn't know really how to apply it. I'd been on this website before, but I didn't know all about the screening in and the important keys that really mattered. So once I went through all this process with him, that's when the applications started getting called back. So, yeah. If you guys have questions about like my process through it, or a little bit more about the state application process, or even about my job specifically, if you want, we can talk about it. Bye.